3. It was a pretty comfortable victory over Cyclops, but a Cyclops team that at the time hadn't, of course, found the momentum that they have been able to find these last few days. We head into the ban phase of G2 Esports. You lose this, and boy, they're going to be really sweating.
Yeah, of course, it is important to note that G2 did beat an APAC team, but Cyclops is ultra aggressive. Sure, Cloud9, they can be aggressive. They can bring that APAC flair as well, but not to the same extreme as what we saw from Cyclops. So it's a little bit of a form guide, but not much to go off there. G2 Esports will take the Jackal off the board. That'll slow down the roam clear here for the attack and make it a little bit more tricky, but of course will reward teams that pre-place drones and play off intel really well and able to clear from top down efficiently. Mirror taken off the board as well, and that's pretty stock standard here on Cafe, a difficult operator to deal with, and of course G2 on this occasion not wanting her to plague this match. Cloud9 starting on the defense, of course, will round out this ban phase. Malusi taken off the board here, and a little bit less utility that the attack will need to deal with.
Yeah, and a lot of information gathering still left available through, say, the Valkyrie, for instance, especially here on Cafe. You can really throw them out those windows, get lots of intel outside in the way that the attackers are going to be setting up. So we'll see whether or not that will play an impact later on, virtually immediately on the IQ, probably in anticipation of that. As we head into this match, G2 Esports fresh off of a loss versus Team Liquid, where they eventually took a little while, but got dismantled 7-3 on Oregon. They're not going to be heading back. Harper on the clash to open things up. Cloud9 on the defense, although immediately going to 6-pick off it for Goyo, especially on Bar Cocktail. Probably set at least one of those Vulcan shields around that sort of pixel area, and that's how they will play off it.
A little bit disappointed that we don't see the clash brought out here from Cloud9, and it's an operator that has seen some play tees here and there so far in the Six Invitational on APAC as a region, not afraid to bring her into the fray. Of course, can disrupt the playstyle of the attack quite significantly, but so can Goyo, as you mentioned, can place a shield over towards the pixel position, which sure is maybe not as easy to hold in the current meta, but can still be a utility dump, of course, for the attack. And then that second shield can be placed in a couple of locations. We might see it over towards top white. We might even see a cheeky setup inside of shop, albeit that a little bit of a riskier option. Or, of course, here inside of backstore, providing additional protection into freezer.
Well, for G2 Esports, all eyes on them and how they are going to play in this matchup entirely, whether it's attack, defense. And speaking of defense, and for Cloud9, it is anticipated that they should be slightly favored here on the defense on Cafe, as we've seen so far at Six Invitational, and they'll be looking to get off to a good start.
Oh, Uno! He gets the first pick in this match. Nova caught off guard over on that window. It's a good kill there from Uno, an opportunist approach at the start of this round as Kanto can't get the hatch open. A slight mistake there, marring a good start for G2.
Yeah, good start. And I will also mention this as well, guys. G2 Esports, for those who maybe didn't watch the earlier match versus Team Liquid, but this is something that they were able to get a few times, was these opening picks. In fact, by a few times, I mean the majority of the time. I mean, they ended up getting like a good 80 to 90% of the opening picks, and they just weren't able to capitalize late in rounds. So even though they got these 5 versus 4 early game advantages, as Envy Taylor can play off of Pixel into Washroom, they just weren't able to capitalize late into the rounds, and that really was their downfall.
Envy Taylor behind the shield, taken down. Kanto too sharp in that engagement. 2 solid picks are at the start of the round for G2, and that will likely force Cloud9 to get a little bit aggressive. So everything, including the kitchen sink at this round, to try and bring themselves back in this one. If they sit back and play submissively, there's a fair chance that G2 can overrun them.
Good advantage for G2. Good start here on Cafe, and that's exactly what they need. Harper does get one back, taking out Kayak though. Cloud9 still holding defensively over towards the cocktail position, and Static with a decent sight line as well through Bark can at least deny a bit here for G2, but Citizen gets another one here. Shy will take it off the board. G2 Esports. Oh, although Harper immediately takes Citizen back, and Kanto taking a bit of damage. This round has still got many twists to take.
Still winnable for Cloud9. Static has 1 smoke canister still left, and Harper has a nitro cell to work with as well. Both of those pieces of utility will be critical in trying to deny or at least delay this plant from G2, which still hasn't been attempted fully. Kanto, of course, has the kit in hand. If Uno can win this off the back of that ping, then surely it's winnable for G2. Harper now needs to try and clutch up. He gets a trade onto 1, leaving him in the 1 versus 2. It's a quad. Can he get the ace to open their campaign here for Cloud9? Kanto to stick the plant.
10 seconds remaining.
Gonna get off it. He's only got 7 seconds, so Kanto now has to stick this. Harper just being a nuisance, and pretty much Kanto now has to swing. Oh, he's successful! What a swing from Kanto to save the round for G2 Esports. He made the decision to not stick the plant. He gets off it, he finds the pick, and G2 Esports find the round win.
What a nutty round to open up this engagement between G2 and Cloud9. It was a solid double from G2 to kick off the round. And as they tried to go for the plant, Harper was the pain in the backside, the thorn in their side. But they keep cool, they keep calm. G2 take the round in the end.
Yeah, and look, it's good signs for G2. That's the little things, the opening pick, the ability to then get the second one just to get that significant advantage. Sure, Harper goes off, gets a quad, makes it a little nervous towards the end, but a good read from Kanto. He's been in this situation time and time again. The veteran. And honestly, at the end of the day, for G2 Esports, just getting this first round, it might not seem like much, guys, but on the attack here on Cafe, I think this is huge. Just mentally for G2, knowing that, of course, they're running out of opportunities to find a win here. They've got this match, then there's Dark Zero. Good start. Now it's looking like G2 Esports that we're used to seeing over in the EUL. With rounds like that, if they can continue, Cloud9, I've got a big task ahead of them.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
That's exactly right. G2 at their best. These players can be absolutely insane. What they've been lacking in the Invitational thus far is those players being able to interconnect and play off one another effectively. If they can begin to bring that in towards the server, then God knows what height this team can reach. Of course, we're only 1 round in, and arguably that first round was a little bit lucky in the end there as Harper was unable to hold on or at least hit that final shot. But it is something to keep in the backs of our minds. Sure, G2 have not had the greatest start to this group stage, but they are still a team that should never be underestimated.
And you have to wonder here for Cloud9. So instead of actually repeating Bar Cocktail, they go straight away downstairs over Service Cooking, which has got the lowest defensive win rate on Cafe so far at Six Invitational. From the 26 rounds, it's at 46%, favoring the attack. Clearly, so instead of repeating, they are going to go down and at least try and maybe get one back over G2 Esports. So it's like, okay, we were meant to win Bar Cocktail, you're now meant to win Kitchen. If we can sort of swap, we end up about equal at 1-1. But a good start for G2 Esports, and look, this is a good opportunity for them to now go 2-up here on Cafe early on in this match. But you need to get off to a good start if you're going to win here against Cloud9.
Ooh. Oh, Kayak almost taken down. The Nitro over the wall nearly depletes his life fully. Oh, Envy, Taylor, and Shile, they connect one apiece to get it to a 3 versus 5. The spawn peaks, the Apex spawn peaks on Cafe are next level, and G2 are immediately on the back foot.
And this is the thing, right? This is these APAC teams. This is what they like to do. Aggressive and being a nuisance with the spawn peaks. And I mean, it's not even at the spawn point of the round. It's the 2-minute mark, and yet still holding that sort of angle, expecting them to play out from there. And well spotted, well played. Cloud9 with the advantage now, and a very clear one at that. And remembering, of course, Kayak has basically no health. So it's Citizen and Kanto to make something happen. And boy, have they got a difficult task ahead of them as Citizen just looks to clear out Train and Mining above the site. 1.5 on the clock.
They count Citizen out. If he can isolate a couple of picks here and bring it back, then who knows what G2 are capable of. They need to take their time here, though, drone out these remaining players on the defense and see if those opportunities for isolation are available. Keep in mind that Cloud9 in this tournament have often gotten opening picks, but have struggled to capitalize upon that advantage. Can they close out? Can they close out this? It sounds like the caster stack, doesn't it? But these players are definitely a lot better than we are. As Kanto gets in the opening engagement for his team, it's Static that falls But look at the HP of G2. Every single player critically low.
Yeah, they're all below half health. Kanto and Kayak, especially in that critical portion. 40 seconds on the clock, and there's another one there for Cloud9. MV Taylor. Kanto gets his second for the round and just keeps this interesting late into the round. And especially when you got Citizen backing you up elsewhere on the map, on the Ash, who's just been such an immense player for G2 Esports. Despite their woes as a team, Citizen is actually rated top 5 at SI for raiding. Shire with a big pick. There's one back immediately though by Citizen, who has been pinged out. Nova knows his position. Nova doesn't even need a hard swing this. He's got Harper watching, and Harper will execute. And Cloud9 are on the board here for Cafe. It's 1-1 apiece.
Good start here for Cloud9. And that last round really aided off the back of the double spawn peak, which was absolutely disgusting and a great way to really throw their opponents off guard. That said, though, G2 should be well acclimatized to that approach. Remembering our minds back to when they took down Cyclops, there was definitely a lot of spawn peaks and a lot of early round aggression there. So maybe G2 just lacking a little bit of the awareness there, or maybe potentially just missing their shots. Unfortunately, we didn't quite catch it. But either way, though, that is a trend that will continue throughout this map, and something that the attack needs to be mindful of. APAC, they don't defend the objective, Jake. They defend the entire building.
Yeah, and they are obviously at times going to be either ultra aggressive, but I think Cloud9 is the team that can also play a bit more structured in their approach. Sure, might hold that window a little bit longer than most teams would in other regions, and in the end, they get a reward for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean, as you said earlier, that Cloud9 play in a similar manner to Cyclops. I mean, Cyclops are literally on steroids even for APAC standards. And, well, for Cloud9, yes, they may make that play every sort of odd round. They're not going to do it every single round, and they're not going to also get too over aggressive, because, you know, if we think back to the very first couple of days of Six Invitational, that was the downfall for Cyclops, and not just Cyclops, but maybe even the APAC region as a whole, was the too overly aggressive nature of their play styles. They've brought it back a little bit, and now we're seeing them find some wins. And Cloud9, they do go back upstairs, bar cocktail. They failed in the first round, elected to then go down to kitchen. You win that. Now you come back up here. We'll see if they can have an improved time. They can't. Uno, are you serious? MB Taylor just gets shut down, and talk about aggression versus aggression.
It's another free kill for Uno on the rappel. It goes unanswered by Cloud9, and that's MV Taylor taken down. One of the key voices on this team for Cloud9. He recuperates himself though, Uno that is, and begins to drone ahead for the rest of his team, making sure that reading is clear, or at least lines of sight aren't created if they want to enter their late round. But of course there is. It's static up above with a cheeky angle as G2 will get another pick in this round. It's Virtue elsewhere onto Harper, and again, early round, it will be a 5 versus 3.
This is almost identical. I feel like I'm watching some sort of replay of the opening round of this match. 5 versus 3, opening pick to G2. This is, again, just falling apart for Cloud9 so early into the round. Now they've got to play catch up. Now they've got to be able to try and re-establish things. So they've got to halt, they've got to play defensive. They can't really push off site because you're only down to 3 players left. Now G2 can do as they please. They've got a minute and a half on the clock, plenty of time. And they are a team right now that is shaping up to find their second win of the tournament. It's a long way to go, but they're looking much better in this match than they did against Team Liquid.
Anto Ricchetti, one of the most esteemed players in Rainbow Six Esports, having a strong start to this map. Definitely a player to watch as he is on that rappel. He may well find himself in an engagement against Shile very soon. He is, of course, hiding behind these hatches. The flashbangs will fly through. That's his cue to get out of there. He does so successfully, and he doesn't take any damage as a result.
Yeah, it's like a little trip. You go from Pixel to Washrooms, then to Backstore, and then eventually end up in Fraser. Still got that Vulcan shield. It's all defense right now for Cloud9. Not peeking, not trying to be the aggressors, and hoping that G2 Esports are the team that put a foot wrong.
Kayak gets lit up. Kanto elsewhere finds the kill. It's a 2 versus 5. Static tries to find a pick over towards New Balcony on that window. Rappel, he hits the shot. Could that be the in that they needed? He drops, though, and he gets taken down. Shile now needs to go huge, but it's Kayak to close out the round.
And that just simply comes back to the opening couple of picks. You've got that 5 versus 3 advantage. You can see it there from Uno. And what that establishes then is that G2 Esports can get a good foothold around the site. They take full control of Cigar. The fact that they can even rappel down even through Skylight or drop down. And they pretty much had everything covered. And Cloud9 basically just gets suffocated onto site. And when those trades start going out, Cloud9 don't have the numbers to respond. And it is arguably one of the earliest timeouts that I've seen so far at Six Invitational.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of teams go for some early tack timeouts here and there, and that would indicate to me that Cloud9 are definitely putting a lot of priority into their defense. They see this as their opportunity to gain rounds here. Unfortunately for them, they do find themselves already on the back foot. The scoreline in favor of G2, 2 rounds, 2-1. So that, of course, means that 3 rounds remaining and Cloud9 will be looking to recover that deficit. I don't know exactly what they'll be talking about in this round. I think that part of the discussion would probably be around the early round phase, right? Every single round, all 3 played. Within a minute, it has been a 5 versus 3. On the occasions that's been in favor of G2, the Europeans have won. On the one occasion, it was in favor of the Koreans in Cloud9. They were the ones that converted that round. So maybe we'll see Cloud9 reel it in a little bit. Maybe we'll even see them get even more aggressive in this early round phase. Of course, we'll have to wait until we jump back in to see exactly what their approach will be.
Well, it almost just seems like they weren't expecting G2 to be as aggressive with these early look-ins as they have been, at least in, the bar cocktail site, less so for Kitchen. But for Cloud9, I don't know if they're a team that's going to want to get too aggressive, despite, of course, the whole stigma in the APAC region. I think that they'll more than happily just play their game, head over to reading, dining now, and I think for Cloud9, it's just more about being careful than anything. It's like, okay, guys, we're just being a little sloppy in the early games where we're giving them some early picks. We're at a disadvantage for too long, too early, and they're able to capitalize. It's pretty simple siege at the end of the day. And for Cloud9, it's just about fixing up little tidbits, and that's probably why they've taken this very early timeout as we head back in now for this 4th round. G2 Esports 2-1 lead. Can they smell victory? It's a long way to go, Guz, but they are building on it here on Cafe. They only need 1, and if they get this 1 win, they are back above Cyclops. And it does mean that Cyclops, in their last match of the day, in their last match of SI versus BDS, would need to win and knock off one of the favorites.
An aggressive extension upstairs here from Cloud9, electing to double shield that pixel position. In fact, it may even be a 3rd shield there inside of backstore. Either way, though, a lot of utility invested. So yeah, 3 shields facing inside of Piano. Cloud9 desperately looking to maintain this map control, but keep in mind, G2 have a great lineup to counter this. Uno is probably going to be a player to watch. Those bolts could inflict a lot of damage and a lot of pain. As well as that, of course, he has the secondary hard breach, which could come in handy as well.
And it's almost like they're defending for bar cocktail. Now, we're used to seeing this, but as you pointed out, the 3 shields really emphasizes how up forward Cloud9 want to be, making it difficult for G2 Esports here, pushing in and sweeping above this top floor. Just buys a lot more time, and it's a very time-consuming defensive setup from Cloud9, the way they've got it. Eventually, those shields will get, destroyed, and then they'll fall back over towards Cocktail, then eventually drop down. And for G2 Esports, the idea is that they'll only have maybe 20, 30 seconds left for their eventual push. See how they handle it, and it is intriguing to see how this is going to play out. Nitrocell from Harper, thrown up, unsuccessful, over towards Cigar Shop. No one even there. I don't know what Salq he was going off. Oh, actually, there is someone in there. That's my bad.
Yeah, a little bit of a desperation player there from Harper. Cloud9, yeah, looking to, of course, get that early round advantage, which they have become famous for at this SI. Of course, it didn't connect, and G2 will now look to convert control from Shop over towards Bar, and then eventually in towards Cocktail. Although, keep in mind, there was the extension over towards Pixel. Difficult to tell from this angle, but I'm not sure just how aggressively Cloud9 are still holding that location. You can see they've basically fallen back. In fact, Shile is the only player arguably still above, and even he is now rotated back towards the site. So great work from Cloud9 there to burn time and burn the utility of G2.
Yeah, they burnt the time. G2 had to clear out all those shields, washrooms, Pixel, backstore, all being cleared out. Now they've taken control of Cocktail, and as I said, they're going to have 20-30 seconds. Uno's actually been downed here, by the way. That's from below. That's Harper with the shotgun. No Nitrocell. We saw him use it earlier. Didn't find the pick over in Cigar Shop. 30 seconds left, and it's pretty much playing out as expected. Cloud9's time-consuming defensive setup has proved to be very costly here for G2 Esports. Eventually, they're just going to have to drop down into pillars, look for a default plant, and hope they can win their ones.
Angles created above from Kanto, as well as Virtue with those breaching charges, but it's MV Taylor on the Frost to get the first pick. You're on to Citizen. It's a second. It's another 5v3 as Kayak tries to go for the plant. He hits a shot, though, as he falls off it. He needs the rest of his team, but it's only one player left to support. It's Kanto now left to try and clutch up. But, of course, the time runs out, and there's nothing that he can do. It's a Cloud9 round.
And plays out as expected, really. Well played from Cloud9, G2 Esports. Didn't think they necessarily did anything wrong. They just took a little bit longer than required in clearing out that top floor. And that's just a full credit to Cloud9's setup. They committed a lot of utility above, pretty much nothing down below. And for Cloud9, they tie up the scoreboard 2-2 against G2. And we head back down to the kitchen, where, of course, G2 Esports weren't successful last time. It was a Cloud9 victory.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
I really liked what I saw there from Cloud9. That setup, that extension, whilst arguably overly aggressive, was really just played perfectly. They wasted the amount of time required, and they were willing and able to fall back towards the site. It achieved its purpose. I was expecting Cloud9 to hold that a lot more aggressively, particularly over towards Pixel, but for the most part, no one was really there. G2 were forced, of course, to still do their due diligence, clear that utility, and make sure that the information they gathered was 100% correct. Of course, it didn't leave them with much time late in the round, and again, in the 3-on-5, very difficult to convert that disadvantage back around to a round win. Of course, that round's gone now, though, and G2 will need to prepare themselves for the downstairs attack. Cloud9 electing, of course, to go over towards kitchen. You see the Kaid employed to try and prevent those walls from being opened over towards the west, as well as the extension on Cupcake. No spawn peaks, though, from Cloud9, so I must say I'm a little bit disappointed.
Not yet. Remember, it took about another 30 seconds or so until Cloud9 actually did get those peaks to work. Nova on the Valkyrie, we saw this last time as well on Service Cooking, and it obviously proved to work. Didn't actually see whether or not it was the Black Eyes that gave the information. It was just a pretty standard spawn peak. And for G2 Esports, they don't seem too concerned about that happening again. Shile, very aggressive position in Bakery. Nothing too crazy right now from really either team. Pretty stock standard.
Charles needs to be careful. He does get a little bit of assistance from Harper over towards the prep doors. Now he tries to turn away from those flash grenades. He gets aggressive. He hits the shot. Narrowly misses the second, though, there onto, I believe it was Kayak on the boost. But he's done his job well here, and G2 will likely be forced to rotate.
Man, the way that Uno just walked in was just so casual in his approach. No one was there for a retrade either. That's a poor life to give away. Cloud9 with the advantage. How can G2 Esports respond? Still a minute 20 seconds left on the clock here. Heading over towards White Stairs. Static finds Virtue. Lead extended further here for Cloud9. G2 looking to get in behind now. Just push into Freezer. But it is just players they are losing one by one. There's a fire back from Kayak, but not only are they running out of time, but they're running out of players and running out of ideas, and they're both just going to have to just push in onto site through the back. Harper's watching, can't sense that this push is going to be successful.
G2 find themselves between a rock and a hard place. The wall, of course, opened in towards Freezer, but from there, there's a lot of angles that can be generated by Cloud9 to make sure that they cannot walk in. You can see a long angle being held towards the door. Harper prone, but they still have their bases covered over towards Bakery. Can Shile win this engagement? He does. It's a double inside of Bakery. Now Kanto He's had a good map so far, but he needs to find 4.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, not with the way that Cloud9 have set up here. Well played. And I'm going to be completely honest here, guys. It just felt like G2 Esports gave away too many lives for free. Starting off with Uno pushing into Bakery. Shyle just gets the easiest kill, pops up. Look at this, nothing back from Uno. And then we see it again at the end. It's literally a replay in the replay. Shyle picked up a double over in Bakery. And really, G2 didn't even feel like they fired a single bullet that round. I know they did pick up 1 kill through Kayak, but that was it. And Cloud9 were pretty much always going to win that round. And now they've got an opportunity to establish a 4-2 first half. Final round of the half coming up here on Cafe.
Ooh, Nova. Six picking onto the clash. Hasn't quite locked it in, but should right about now and does. So we'll have to see how that's employed on the upstairs defense here for Cloud9. I can only assume that Nova will play quite aggressively in towards Lounge and try to disrupt the strong repel play we've seen from G2 on this western side of the map. That has been what Cloud9 have been struggling with a little bit, particularly in losing early round picks to the likes of Uno on those positions. And whilst the clash won't directly affect that from happening, it will be a safer way, I guess, to apply pressure on that side of the map. But don't count out G2. If they can link up their utility and get that teamwork flowing, then clearing out that shield player may not be the hardest job in the world.
Well, you mentioned that with Uno, and yes, he obviously did get 2 out of the first 3 opening picks, but since then, it's been MV Taylor, it's been Shyle, it's been Cloud9. G2 fired a bit of a shot early on in this match, but Cloud9 have started to bite back, and this clash might be difficult for them to deal with. And if it is, and Cloud9 do in fact get to a 4-2 half, it is going to be difficult for G2 Esports, but going over to the defense on Cafe, it's not going to be too bad, it's not going to be over just yet. G2 Esports by no means out of this. It is very, very close to just establish that, but they've just been making their own mistakes, and they got really only themselves to blame right now.
A little bit cleaner there from Kanto, able to pop open the hatches with 1 shot each on this occasion, so that's a good start for him in this round. But jokes aside, his role could be quite pivotal here in clearing out this pixel position. It's NV Taylor, in fact, holding this part of the map, and I don't believe Nova's really anywhere to be seen, so he might be holding this solo for now and needs to be careful. Nova's actually way, way back over towards Cocktail, maybe in an attempt to play for a late round scenario.
Well, that's what it suggests. Obviously not want to get too aggressive, don't want to be sort of at the forefront and then get pinched at some point, losing his life. Nice shots from Uno there and just being a nuisance, and G2 Esports finding it a little bit more difficult this time around at Bar Cocktail of getting an opening pick. They were able to do it twice earlier in the rounds. This time, just not able to find that pick as they continue to clear out a lot of this utility. Harper over towards top white can just watch over towards Pixel. And honestly, Cloud9's setup is pretty much for the late game, like you said, and they can play off the clash. Nova is going to be very impactful the later we get into this round.
Instead of playing that deployable shield inside of Backstore, it's instead Nova. He is the shield. That mobile operator able to work his way around the map, manipulate exactly where these attackers are pushing from and try to push them back. Good clear, of course, by G2. Good progression over towards Pixel's generated angles over in that spot, but they haven't quite got a foothold just yet. As I say that, though, Citizen, with a grenade in hand, looks to cook it. Can he find something here?
Yeah, there's not much pressure from Cloud9 right now over towards Lounge. So this is why you're seeing G2, especially Citizen, over towards Pixel. They're doing as they please because Cloud9's positioning is mostly over towards Cocktail behind that shield. Static's gone, by the way. That was the opening pick. And with 40 seconds left, G2 Esports can now start to push in. They got control of washrooms. And I think this might be the downfall of Cloud9's positioning. Maybe they're just a little too far back. We haven't seen the clash really have an impact at all. Kayak can now stick the plant. And this is just falling apart for Cloud9.
Oh, C4!
Deny, though, from Harper with the Nitrocell might just change things here, but it's only Harper and Nova left in a 2 versus 4. Time is of the essence. Kanto watching the angle. Now it's just the clash, and this defensive hold from Cloud9 just comes undone. Well played from G2 Esports.
Uno again on the repel. It seems like every time he repels, he finds a kill, and that was a great way to kickstart the attack here for G2 alongside a really well-cooked nade there by Citizen. There we go, the replay of Shyle being caught off guard, and it was a great C4 from Harper, a desperate attempt to bring this round back. But unfortunately for Nova, There's little he could do in the 1 versus 4.
Where was the Clash, Cuz?
Not having much of an I mean, the thing is, right, I was expecting the Clash to be a bit more aggressive over towards Lounge. If G2 wanted to commit to a similar push, which they had in the previous rounds, over towards Bar for default, having a Clash in Cocktail, unfortunately, is not really going to have much of an impact. So maybe an oversight there by Cloud9, but the match, of course, neutralized a little bit now, 3-3 the score.
And look, ultimately, that's a really good half for G2 Esports on the attack here on Cafe. They switch over to the defense. They haven't been able to get 2 rounds in a row, but they've been sticking with it. And honestly, they won 3 out of 3 Bar Cocktail attacks, and in the end, that is proving to be, you know, the differential here between these 2 teams. And if you look at the stats at their side so far, coming into today, 26 rounds of Bar Cocktail played. Now, that's not the most amount of rounds. It's about half what has been the most, but a 65% defensive win rate. So G2 Esports just came in and said, to hell with your stats. They don't matter. They've got their own plans. It's the repel game, and they find these opening picks, open up the site a bit, and in the end, on that last defense from Cloud9 with the Clash, just didn't matter. We move in, though, to the second half. It's Cloud9 on the attack. G2 Esports will set up defensively already a little bit differently. I was going to say the shield in Freezer is something that we didn't see. It was a bit more forward from Cloud9, more into backstall.
Still a strong shield game being employed, though, and in fact, we saw an aggressive Vulcan shield from Uno inside of Shop, suggesting that G2 will play very aggressively here, and particularly in response to the red drop, which is very frequently employed by the attack. It's Virtue holding that position.
Who played this against Cyclops with this position and the ADSs and the shield?
It was the other way around.
It was the other way around.
I definitely remember Cyclops playing it and G2 absolutely dismantling it. That was what stood out to me. Citizen on those nades was incredible. So we'll have to see just how good Cloud9 are at clearing this position. If they manage to cut off Virtue, surely it could be a nice opener to the round. But on the flip side, if they feed him, then that could also be a very, very detrimental aspect of this attack.
And this is already sort of the difference, although that shield not lasting very long, that's already taken down. But the way that G2 Esports positioning Virtue over towards Shop is something that we didn't see from Cloud9, especially in that prior round where they were so defensive and so focused on that cocktail position. Virtue is making it very difficult for Cloud9 to drop top red and actually get good position on site. Child, though, will get the opening pick. That's Kayak gone. And that's a repel kill, almost akin to what we saw from G2 Esports and Uno. And speaking of Uno, he gets one back, ties us back up 4 versus 4 in this round.
Or for the scoreline, Virtue, I believe, still isolated over towards Shop, looking to have an impact here. If Cloud9 drone him out, then surely they can find the kill as he resorts back to the hatch drop. And he will rotate down, but Static, upside down, finds the kill. It's a big kill at that, as it forfeits control of Shop to the attack.
If you love Repel, you love Cafe. What an intriguing game what we've got between these 2 teams. It's entertaining, Siege, that's for sure. Kanto kind of stuck in washrooms, going to get forced out. That actually might pay off well in the end. Can reposition, still got Citizen over towards Freezer and that shield that we mentioned at the start of the round. Kanto is just getting bullied right now, as finally Cloud9 can establish decent control over in Cigar Lounge and Shop. 30 seconds left, we'll see what they've got.
Take a breath, hold your seat. Citizen inside of Freezer. Maybe he'll have an impact in this round. He still has a shield to play off. Cloud9 might look to clear that, might not. They just run straight past him as Envy will go for the plan.
Did he not notice? I don't think he realized. He's getting some misinformation. Never mind, he swings out, gets Static coming in from washrooms. The second swing, unsuccessful though. Oh, that all just happened a little bit too quick in the end for G2 Esports, and Cloud9 just push on to site. They take Bar Cocktail. Well, it's right now between these 2 teams, back and forth, quite literally. And once again, Cloud9 take the lead on the scoreboard.
Some unfortunate timing there for Citizen in the late round. Not sure whether or not he actually saw that play across, but either way, it would have been a tough shot to hit. And then, of course, as he swings out, Cloud9 switched on, ready and waiting, holding down that angle, prevent the wide swing, and of course, they win the round by fragging out their opponents in the end. I like the aggression that I saw there from G2 in that previous round, willing and able to hold Shop, and for the most part, it did stall out Cloud9. And unfortunately, as Virtue tried to rotate down, Child hit a nutty shot on the repel, and that really has been this game so far. The repelling from both teams and the fragability on those repels has been absolutely top-notch from both Uno, from G2, and Cloud9 as well.
Well, as it stands, we head down to Kitchen, which right now, from what we've seen it a few times now, only twice. That was back when Cloud9 were defending it. They were able to defend it successfully both times. And I mean, just sort of talking about the last time we did see Kitchen, but it was more than anything G2 just throwing bodies into Bakery and really just giving their lives away for nothing. And it was a very disappointing attack, if I'm going to be quite blunt. And we'll see whether or not Cloud9 are going to be able to offer something a bit more imaginable. And in the past, you might go for that top-down clear. G2, they went for more that horizontal and throw your bodies into Bakery. Attack didn't work. We'll see what Cloud9 are going to employ.
Typical extension over towards VIP and common rotations between side and also behind the whiskey bar there for G2. Cloud9, meanwhile, of course, will head to the roof and, as we see in typical fashion, pop open the red hatch and go for a map clear. Now, it's important to remember that G2 did take the Jackal off the board, and that might make it a little bit harder for Cloud9 to go for this roam clear. They can't rely on the Inox scanner, instead fully reliant on their ability to drone and make sure that their bases are covered.
Yeah, and nothing on this top floor, of course, from G2 Esports. It's going to be about Cloud9 trying to get towards train mining and fireplace, etc. to, of course, establish vert control above site. So it is going to be this top-down approach from Cloud9. Later on in the round, they might have someone establish some sort of presence over towards Bakery, but for now, it is going to be about establishing a presence above. Static just being ultra careful. One thing Cloud9 also need to be careful of is time management. It's been a factor for a lot of teams here at Six Invitational, and they just don't want to leave it to that last second, and especially if G2 Esports can find that pick somewhere late in the round, it'll just make things so difficult for Cloud9.
Breaching charges being used there by Cloud9 in towards Dining, as the hatch now will be popped by Nova. The ex-Kairos will do the job for him there. Nice vertical angles established as well here by Cloud9. The likes of Envy Taylor now can come across, and Sledgehammer open up the floor above as well. So a lot of work done here by Cloud9 in establishing themselves nicely for the execute. Now, based on their positions, you would expect a freezer push, of course. G2, of course, no strangers to that as well. Key position still being held at VIP. Kanto as well, close towards the hatch drop as well. But it's Kayak elsewhere to drop Envy Taylor, and that's the Sledge taken down, presumably through that vertical established.
Yeah, Uno's taken off the board, though, by Static, and I think that's a pretty decent trade. Uno's been impressive at times in this match. 6-5 and 6 now. 30 seconds remaining. Nova getting the ping, looking to line this nade up and see whether it connected with Kanto. Not sure how much utility is still left. They dropped down, didn't clear Kanto though, and he's going to be proving to be difficult here. Holds his position well using this pillar, and he's going to be able to get both of them. Great stop, great play from Kanto. Great round from G2 Esports. Cloud9 just capitulate late in that round, and that push falls apart.
Good early map control established there by Cloud9. They had the angles from above, but so many of the positions on site left uncontested. VIP was still being held by G2, and most critically, Kanto still had a foothold next to the chassis. A nice 2K from him. The rest of the team cleans up as well, and it was well played there by G2. Cloud9 struggling in the latter stages of round 8.
Yeah, I mean, well played G2, give them the credits, give them the plaudits, but the attack from Cloud9 leaves a lot to be desired, and we've seen that now from both teams actually on this Kitchen site, which is staggering with how we've seen other teams sort of take it apart a little bit on the attack over in other matches here at Six Invitational, and both teams basically just fired blanks, to be completely honest. No one really ever had a good opportunity on the attack of taking Kitchen, both G2 Esports and Cloud9, so disappointing from Cloud9 that they weren't able to manufacture much of a decent attack there, especially with zero presence over towards, say, like train mining. The Jackal's not on the, the Jackal's not available. So you can have that roamer above and try and put pressure and try and waste even more time, but Cloud9 didn't even have that. They took way too long. So we go into this 9th round, and he's going to be reading Fireplace, and for Cloud9, I do have to start to worry, especially with G2 Esports on the defense here in this second half. They're looking good. It was well played from Kanto, 9, 3, and 4, fit and firing right now in this match.
You know what I want to say, Jake, don't you?
Hey,
Hog mats, woo! Let's go. Uno, bringing out the frost. Of course, can place those mats around, and again, the shotgun so critical in opening up a couple of rotations and lines of sight, and the deployable shield will aid assistance presumably above as well. Cloud9 need to be mindful of those mats as they progress around the map. They definitely catch the best of the best off guard. In fact, frost mats are actually, in matchmaking at least, more effective at higher ranks than they are at lower ranks. So that's why I don't walk into frost mats and good players do.
What's Cloud9 got on the attack here? Because the onus is on them right now to make something happen. G2 Esports didn't really have to do too much in that previous round. Cloud9 just sort of petered out a bit. It's going to be on them to, of course, clear out this top defense that we're seeing from G2 Esports. Pretty standard right now with this sort of bar cocktail defense. Looks like the shield over towards Pixel has already been taken out, so that's nice and early, at least for Cloud9. Still need to clear the players out of backstore, and of course eventually establish that cocktail control. Not too late in the round, hopefully not with 20 seconds left. Maybe about a minute would be ideal, 45 seconds at the latest. And then eventually what will likely happen is they'll just drop down pillars, look for that default plant, and whoever wins the shots wins the round. It's Cafe in a nutshell.
Hayek holding washrooms, 2 ADS devices supporting his position, and some reinforcements as well to make life difficult for the likes of Nova, who will be tasked with opening up those lines of sight. Static, inside of Piano, will vault out the window, instead electing to rotate. I can only assume that by shooting down that door, he might go for a play up white late. It's a little bit tricky at the moment to discern exactly what Cloud9 are trying to attempt here. Player will actually, it's Uno in fact, making his way down white, hearing that door shut down, I presume. Ready and waiting for a player to maybe progress up their late round, but in terms of actually gaining map control elsewhere, Cloud9 are struggling a little bit.
Yeah, and again, it's a time issue here, right? They've got 3 drones left, so not too much information gathering towards the later stages of this round. Nova now pushing up white stairs, getting close to sight. It's actually not looking like it is going to be that full conventional approach here. Maybe a bit of a pinch late into the round, and they are going to be pushing into dining, and Taylor gets one onto Kayak. And what is happening to G2's defense? It's gone. It's been deleted. Static takes out top white player in Virtue, and it's down to just Kanto to salvage the situation for G2 Esports. 15 seconds left. He wins these. Surely he does, of course. Harper's down on the ground and out for the count. MV Taylor drops down and now has to force the 1v1 with Kanto. Literally has to chase him for the next 5 seconds. Do not let this man get away. Drops back. He can pick up the diffuser. No. Oh, he anticipated wrong. Well played, Kanto. Well played, G2. That was messy, but Kanto was clean.
Kanto. What an insane map it has been from him thus far. Stepping up when it matters for his team. It was a cheeky play there from Cloud9 to push themselves up white stairs and force themselves in towards the site. But after the diffuser was dropped, Kanto played off that incredibly well, winning that engagement and then playing time perfectly, allowing it to bleed out. And unfortunately for Cloud9, they were unable to win the round.
I mean, yeah, I think you just have to keep chasing in that situation. You can't stop. You can't second guess yourselves. And look, tried something, didn't work. Pretty obvious. Kanto, though, was just too good. And Kanto's been the difference maker, Guz, in this matchup. The standout, 1.6 rating at the moment, 10 and 4, 88% cost. I mean, he has also then just clutched that round. That round at the end, you don't really get a stat for that. I mean, he obviously picked up a few kills, but the way he wins that round for his team doesn't go in the stat book. You don't see that. And so right now, G2, they are ahead. They are so close. Just a couple more rounds away from what would be most likely securing their place in the playoffs. It doesn't necessarily lock it in, but the odds of Cyclops beating BDS is slim to none, if we're going to be quite frank.
Yeah, still a possibility. We don't want to completely count out Cyclops in any matchup, just considering how potent the APAC playstyle can be, and Cyclops
Look, who knows anymore?
Produced some crazy results already. So look, we don't want to count them out completely in that matchup, but it is definitely An important match for G2. They had 3 chances today to secure their position in the playoffs. They already lost the first. This is the second. They do, of course, have a third. As I mentioned, there are 3 in total. And that will, of course, then be against Dark Zero. Some would probably pencil that in as a G2 win, but you never know. And I'm sure G2 will not want to be relying on their final match of the group stage to lock their position in.
No, and especially against the Dark Zero team that's obviously looking to refine some form and to secure their own life in Six Invitational, right? And that could very much shape up to be a very deciding match later on. But right now, all attention here on G2 Esports versus Cloud9. And for Cloud9 themselves, it's the same storyline that would be placed on Dark Zero later. They're still fighting for their life. In the crazy world that Cyclops maybe do beat BDS, Cloud9 would then take last place, provided that G2 then win this game, as obviously they would have the tiebreaker. So there's so many different ways, so many different things could happen. It would be honestly wrong of us to dive too deep into that. But for the most part, G2 got a win here, and they've got an opportunity to do just that. They're up 1 round over Cloud9. And we head back upstairs to Bar Cocktail where, well, both teams have kind of struggled a little bit on this site. Guz at times defending it. It hasn't been easy.
Last time G2 defended this site, of course, Virtue was extended over in towards Shop, and whilst it did waste a bit of time, Cloud9 were able to pick that apart and find that kill. And on this occasion, I don't think G2 will commit the same utility on that position, instead using those shields a little bit deeper over towards Freezer, where Citizen was also holding that previously, and Pixel as well. And with Virtue on the mute now, as opposed to the smoke, he can place down those jammers to make that hard breach effort a little bit trickier. But this could be the wild card in this round. It's Uno. This is a common spawn peak we have seen throughout the Six Invitational, particularly from the APAC region. But now Uno will test his luck, but he doesn't find a target to take down.
Yeah, Cloud9 not going to play into that. It's almost like you can't use our tricks against this sort of mentality for the APAC teams, but it's nice to see G2 doing that. And again, the way that they do establish themselves on this Bar Cocktail defense, they're a bit more front-facing, a little bit more in your face, trying to buy as much time versus Cloud9's defense earlier, where they were just sitting on Cocktail and allowed G2 to take full control of Red, full control of Cigar, and then it just, well, went how you would expect. Cloud9 need to bite back here, though, because so far G2 have won 3 out of the last 4 rounds to take this lead.
Now, one thing we haven't touched on yet in this round is Harper. He is playing the Twitch and has just thrown out one of his shock drones. Now, he could play a pivotal role in clearing out some of this utility. There's 1 ADS in Pixel and 2 inside of washrooms. Now, of course, it's going to be really difficult for him to get those in uncontested, and G2, if they are on their toes, will be able to shoot these drones out. But Harper, if he gets sneaky, can start to clear utility, and this could play a big role in this round.
Clears out at least one of the ADSs there, can take out the Vulcan shield, or make it a lot easier to. That is going to be taken down. 2 players sitting inside of washrooms, although that rotate into backstore obviously available, so G2 Esports not pushing too far back. Hard to see whether or not they got that shield placed over in Freezer like they had last time, and that did prove to be quite vital. Not enough to win the round, though. It is going to be there once again. And then, of course, still a couple of players over towards Cocktail. Uno below, bottom of Red stairs, and could be a flanker to come in at the last seconds here. 45 seconds, guys, and now the push for Cloud9 will take place.
Unless Uno has a pre-place, I wasn't tracking that. He doesn't have one in the pocket for the late round. C9, as they try and open up this wall, will, of course, realize that it has been jammed. Those sparks indicating that a jammer is preventing it from being opened. Static gets aggressive on the peak, tries to see if there's anyone inside of Freezer, as Nova goes for the plant.
Goes for the plant. Shile's going to be eliminated by Kanto. Guess who? It's him once again. MV Taylor, though, catches one, and like rounds before at Cloud9 are winning the jewels, but there's still some big players on the board for G2 Esports to bring it back. Citizen, the jump out, it's perfect. He catches MV Taylor, can come straight back inside it, and there's plenty of time here for G2 Esports to win this round. Virtue inside a backstore. doesn't quite have the information as to Nova and Harper's whereabouts, and is very much trying to find it. Harper over at Skylight, and surely cannot lose it from here, Guz.
I'm ticking down. Only 10 seconds left. Harper, he can just play time. Citizen has to stick it. He cannot fall off it. He knows it. He just has to hold F. Harper needs to find the pick. Citizen falls off, but it doesn't matter. The time is already depleted. The round will go the way of Cloud9. It's a nutty shot, but it doesn't count for much in the post plant.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. I didn't even see how much time was left on the clock. Thought maybe there was enough, but obviously wasn't. And, had a heart attack for almost a split second after the back of one of the, similar plays to what we saw the other day on Consulate. Still, well executed from Cloud9 in the end. Good jump out from Citizen to try and salvage the round. Was unsuccessful. And yeah, Harper, obviously not enough time. Citizen, it was like another 2-3 seconds. I mean, 2-3 seconds could be saved somewhere else in the round, but alas, was not to be. Cloud9 will tie up the scoreboard 5-5. It continues to go back and forth, guys, here on Cafe. So close. And as Dev likes to say, it's almost like break point now. Next round will get you match point.
That objective so difficult to retake as the defense. The second that Harper was posted on the Skylight, it's almost impossible to win. Sure, Citizen hit a nutty shot, but Harper played it well and managed the time perfectly. Let's take a quick pause here, take a deep breath. G2, remember, this is not exactly a must-win, but it is a very critical match in their group stage campaign. If they lose this, they need to put all their focus on the Dark Zero game later, and there'll be a lot of pressure mounting there. So they'll be looking to convert the advantage that they still have, or at least did have, as the scoreline is 5 apiece. It's definitely a nail-biter between these two at the moment.
No team being able to win 3 rounds in a row at one time apiece. Cloud9 1-2, G2 1-2, which is actually not too long ago that they managed that. Outside of that, it has been that back and forth, 1-for-1 sort of style here on Cafe. G2, of course, their tournament life sort of on the line here. Cloud9 less so, but still there, lingering in the backdrop. And a win here for Cloud9, of course, will secure them a place in the playoffs without a shadow of a doubt. So you would love to just get that sorted now, and then you don't have to worry. You don't have to start writing down all these possible calculations and what you would hope to have to happen for G2. Of course, a win doesn't secure their hopes, but it does at least put a massive chance of then going to the playoffs. They don't win here. They've only got one more opportunity against Dark Zero. So G2 have an opportunity here on Cafe to close it out, because so far the only site that any attacking team has been able to win has been Bar Cocktail. You move away from Bar Cocktail and every other site has been the defenders. You use that logic, Guz, and that means G2 are favorites here.
If we follow that logic, G2 have the win.
Wow.
I guess you could say, well, if they win the next round kitchen and they go to a tertiary side, and they may well be able to convert the map, but previous trends don't necessarily correlate into future performance, and that may well be the case here. G2 on this occasion leaning in to some of the information gathering and denial. We have the Mute Mozzie combo from Citizen and Virtue being brought to the table, and Kayak on the Maestro bringing those evil eyes as well, which may play a critical role in plant denial and information gathering in towards the site. Now, we often see teams, at least recently in fact, leaning quite heavily into the Echo, but of course can be interchanged for the Maestro. In fact, Kayak doubling up on this side of the objective, and that is probably the play, considering Cloud9 on their last attempt tried to go from this side of the map.
Yeah, and service cooking has definitely been the weakest point from both teams on their attacks, so this is unfortunate for Cloud9, but they're going to have to buck the trend here on this site and put up a much better effort than they attempted to last time. It was that top-down clear. They got control, of course, of dining and mining train, etc., and tried to obviously have that vert control, but it just then falls into a freezer drop, and they couldn't clear out Kanto, and he pretty much just tore them to shreds, and they lost players elsewhere on the map. So Cloud9's going to have to put up better performance here if they are going to take this site. And time. And time has been a factor for them as well. Just like G2 before them on their attacks, they're leaving their attacks so late into these rounds. Clear out this top floor especially much quicker would be ideal for Cloud9.
Static, confident that the top floor is cleared. Jumps down the skylight and jumps down to pillars as well. Cloud9 wasting no time in making sure that the rest of the map is clear, of course, outside of that first floor. Rightly so, because everyone is actually down below. We're seeing the extension to Whiskey Bar with the rotation to the double door, and we'll also see the extension from G2 over towards VIP. So the positioning here from the Europeans, quite similar to what we saw on their last attempt, and in fact the routing from Cloud9 also very similar as well. Static again using breaching charges to open up lines of sight into the objective down below. A good use of utility there, as well as NV Taylor on the sledge, creating additional lines of sight in train and mining. He does get lit up by that nitro cell, but of course he still does survive.
The difference right now for Cloud9 is they're just approaching this a lot quicker. There's still a minute and 15 seconds left on the clock. Now they're getting all this vision above, establishing this vert control. The biggest thing is they need to obviously clear off the players who are on site in kitchen, especially around that freezer area, and then they're good to go, really, and it's already going to be a much better attack than last time. But ultimately, though, they've still got a lot of work to do late into the round, and most importantly, where's Kanto? Because that's the player that's probably going to be the one to stop them again. This time he's sitting over towards VIP. So a different position here for Kanto can obviously be the one to try and stop this cross from bottom of white stairs to freezer when it comes late into the round. 40 seconds left here for Cloud9. Big round. Winner of this round will get match point and get one round closer to securing a playoff position.
A grenade gets cooked there by Cloud9, but it doesn't hit the target. This is where the attack struggled last time, getting in towards the site, but Nova is the one to get the opener onto Citizen from above. It's a good start for Cloud9, but they only have 20 seconds now to convert and execute.
Yeah, and they're going to have to eventually just drop down and hope for the best and hope that G2 don't quite have the angles. The gas babes from Kanto also denying a bit of time. They're going to get in. 3 into freezer now. As they come out, Uno's just going to swap them down one by one, like the firing range that has been established here from G2 Esports. Kanto swings out, gets Shyle. Virtue watching over in prep room. Harper, that's the diffuser, not down in time. G2 Esports are on match point here. Playoff hopes clinging to this next round. And for Cloud9, they need to now send it to overtime.
Cloud9 again faltering at the final stages of that round, but it was a great shutdown from G2. Kanto was fallen or forced back from that VIP position, allowing Cloud9, of course, to drop. But as you mentioned, the firing range was established deep in towards the site, and they were picked apart. Eventually, the diffuser was denied by the defense. G2 claiming the round, they claim match point, and this is a big round for them to convert.
G2 Esports so close to crushing the Cyclops and APAC Dream. Of course, they won earlier today, Cyclops, in a big match against Team 1. They almost took out Empire as well, losing 7-8. But maybe they've left their run too little too late for G2 Esports. They've just timed it perfectly if they can defeat Cloud9 right here, right now. And it just puts that little bit of doubt now over to Cloud9 as well. And if this does become a G2 Esports win, you're going to have 3 teams that are 2-6 at the bottom of Group A. And suddenly then the guys on the desk are going to have to start breaking down this mini-league that could be upon us late into the day. G2 Esports, though, of course, going to defend above here. Pretty standard bar cocktail defense set up above reading fireplace, and well, it's do or die now for Cloud9. They're gonna have to win an attacking round on a site outside of bar cocktail, which has not been done in this match at all.
Oh, the stakes have been set. This should, in theory, be a tricky round for Cloud9 to win. It is, of course, as you mentioned, a must-win round, though. They don't want to complicate their run. They want to build some confidence. Cloud9 are a team that had really strong performances in APAC North last year. They've had a good start this year as well, only faltering at the APAC playoffs. They're taking on G2, who after the retirement of Pengu have been trying to find their feet once again in Europe. But they have some great players on their team that have been stepping up. It's Kayak to almost step up hugely there in the opening engagement onto Static. He inflicts quite a bit of damage, but of course he's still able to hold this position.
And time's good right now for G2 Esports. They don't have to get too aggressive. They don't have to play overly forward here. Could look to start to pull back if they really want to already. Make sure they don't get anyone caught, especially still being over in washrooms. Probably too late now to rotate back through backstore. White corridor might have to be the way out. Or just hold the position and swing out into Pixel and look for the kill. Kayak being so aggressive right now, looking to end this once and for all. Cloud9 know his position though. He's been droned out. He's shot out of this position many times. They know he's here. They've got the sightline into the backstore. I think they're just trying to make sure they pincer him and make it very difficult for Kayak to get out. One swings. Oh, though, the Nitrosalve and Virtue obliterates his life. Kayak, if he can even just get one right now, would be enough, surely, for G2 Esports to take the advantage late into this round. But if he does get pinched out here and loses his life, it'll be 4 versus 4. With about 45 on the clock, Virtue dies elsewhere. Kayak's still in washrooms. Cloud9, you got to deal with other things. Oh, hello? What? The miscommunication! What has happened here from Cloud9's attack? Literally just walks into him into washrooms. No idea. 30 seconds left, and it's a 3 versus 2. G2 Esports on the verge. MV Taylor's gone. They are about to get out of last place here unless Nova goes big.
It's a tall order, and he can't do it. G2 finally win a match on the final day of the group stage. They needed to win one of these, and they finally managed to do it. It was a great effort by Cloud9, but they were outclassed.
Well, for G2 Esports, it is relief, sweet relief, probably the right words for them as they pick up their second win of Six Invitational. They're out of last place. It's Cyclops who now drop back down into that red zone position where, of course, they could get knocked out of Six Invitational by the end of today, mind you. Massive win for Cloud9. Disappointing, especially that final round, the miscommunication. You just have to wonder how it all unraveled, guys, like that in that fashion.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Cloud9 in the end, but not to take anything away, of course, from G2. So many of their players stepping up, but one that really came to mind as being just incredible was Kanto. We've known that over the years he could be an absolute machine. He went absolutely huge today. And again, it's not all about the frags. He was having a massive impact, a well-rounded impact in this matchup. And G2 finally, for the first time here at the Six Invitational, truly looked like they were playing as a team. Yes, they've already gotten one win, but they finally looked a little bit more cohesive. C9 definitely gave them a good challenge, despite making a couple of big mistakes here and there. But when they were looking good, G2 matched them, and of course, in the end, did outperform them.
Well, it is that sweet, sweet victory for G2 Esports. They've been longing for it, and they were able to defeat Cloud9 just like they were able to defeat Cyclops. Of course, they've got one more game for the rest of the group stage. We'll see later on in the day how they go with that. For now, though, we're going to have a break. When we come back, it'll be the analyst desk to break down this match.